Item SCP-003 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedures SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organism of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-003. In event of total power failure, if SCP-0031 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with SCP-0031. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP-0031 to above critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained in event of SCP-003 reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until SCP-0031 advances to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-003 containment area must first be examined for body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-0031 are immediately reported for sterilization. SCP-0031 must not be removed from SCP-0032 except in case of emergency procedures detailed above. Any significant change in SCP-003's tune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-002 must be supplied with power via source designated generator 0034 at all times. Description: SCP-003 consists of two related components of separate origin referred to as SCP-031 and SCP-032. SCP-031 appears to be composed of chitin, hair, and nails of unknown biology arranged in configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. Testing reveals that SCP-001 to predate earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. SCP-031 is considered sentient but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. SCP-031 was found on a stone tablet SCP-003 on which it currently resides. The runes on SCP-032 are not part of any language or emit flickering light patterns. SCP-0032 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging SCP-0032. SCP-0032 is capable of controlled emissions of radiation including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. SCP-0032 contains an internal power source of anomalous nature which appears to have been losing power since several centuries before its discovery. It is considered probable that SCP-0032 was created for the purpose of containing SCP-0031. Partially interpreted data recovered from SCP-002 may refer to a past/potential future LK-class restructuring event caused by the SCP-0031. SCP-003 was located by remote viewing of Team SRV-04-Beta. It appears possible that SRV-04-Beta was deliberately contacted by SCP-032. Other organizations have also been alerted to SCP-003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, SCP-0032 does not appear to be sentient based on its lack of reaction to M03 Gloria analysis and procedures. When SCP-003 drops below temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, both components react. First, SCP-0031 enters a growth state characterized by an exponential increase in mass. This growth state consists of two stages. In both stages, SCP-0031 partially fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with any surrounding inorganic material, including atmospheric elements, non-living organic materials, cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. First stage is always the same. SCP-0031 will first increase its mass and take a form similar in shape of an ovular brittle star of 15 meters in diameter, including what happens to be a central processor of 3 meters in diameter. It will form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment and will partially convert the area around it to an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-002 seems immune from conversion. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when SCP-003 comes into contact with living organic material. SCP-003 appears template itself of the organic material and will attempt communication with organisms that match its initial template. In its second stage, SCP-0031 may pause, slow, or change its growth, and will also convert inorganic and non-living organic elements into functionally similar structures while anomalously altering their physical makeup. While growing inconsistent in the first stage, in the second stage SCP-0031 growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90% so long as SCP-003 remains in contact with living organic materials. The percentage is determined by complexity of the organisms in contact with SCP-0031. SCP-0031 appears to devote a large amount of processing power to analyze of living organic material. During each of SCP-0031's growth stages, SCP-0032 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibit SCP-0031's growth, or reverse this growth when the temperature of SCP-0031 rises above 100 degrees Celsius. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anonymous means. SCP-0031's biology has been the subject of extensive study. Significant elements have been identified similar to SCP-1512 and SCP-2756. The latter of two which have no further confirmed connection with SCP-0031 and no known connection with each other, and none of which are fully understood. Technically even less understood than SCP-003. Thanks to the extensive cross-disciplinary research of SCP-003 object. To date, no convincing analysis has been put forward which satisfactorily explains SCP-031's connection to these SCP objects or others, nor its connection to modern technology and beyond appearance, potentially mimicry via unknown mechanism. Addendum 00301. Acting on its information gathering from linguistic analysis of SCP-032's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03 Gloria has managed to establish a link between SCP-003 and data expunged for analysis functions. SCP-003 must now be considered sediment, and it is to be kept at a minimum 1 kilometer from dash resulting by product at all times. Addendum 0302. SCP-0032's power loss has been exacerbated. Procedures performed by M03 Gloria on orders of 0510 M03 Gloria will continue procedures. Addendum 0303. During M03 Gloria procedures, SCP-003-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structural growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees Celsius. Growth and mass increase of SCP-003-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, at which time a sustained radiation spike produced by SCP-032. In response, SCP-031 returned to its normal state in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. New growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both SCP-1 and SCP-0032 ceased all detectable activities. SCP-0031 did not resume activity until connected to an external power source. SCP-0032's runes glowed uniformly gray and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. SCP-0032 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees Celsius without external power supply of generators 0033 through 9. Addendum 00304. The procedure detailed in Addendum 00303 was repeated, and SCP-0031 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, SCP-0032 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. SCP-0031 growth stopped for 33 seconds, then resumed its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, SCP-0031 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment and partially converting its environment, SCP-0031 then breached containment, entering the observation gallery where 9 members of M03 Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, SCP-0031 encompassed them in rapidly grown appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. SCP-0031 then resumed growth and rearranged the component parts of the center to form into shape in a 3-meter tall female humanoid. A pair of phyllid tentacles shifting to extrude primarily from SCP-0031's newly formed hair and spine. SCP-0031 then produced rudimentary vocalizations in an apparent initial attempt to communicate with the researchers. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad agents. The individual claimed to be acting on orders of 05 and 10 and attempted communication with SCP-0031. Following this incident, Agent Jackson, M03 Gloria, successfully restored power to SCP-0032 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius. SCP-0031 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of M03 Gloria affected by the SCP-0031 were afterward found to be physically unharmed, with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of SCP-003's containment area did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Addendum 00305. In light of the previous incident, 0510 was removed from the 05 Council by joint decision of 05X, 05Y, and 05Z. M03 Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended.